Today we talk masculinity, ayahuasca, and a whole heap of stuff. I'm George, and this is Meetings with Mother, where I talk to people about their experiences with ayahuasca. Today I have Gunther, who's a guy from Germany that's been living in Brazil for the last 10 or so years. I think you'll enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Although I might not agree with him on certain points, I think it's always good to have differing opinions and find people with differing opinions. It helps you grow, helps you learn, and I think that's what's important. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll talk to you in a bit.
A little tired.
Yeah, I can imagine, to be honest.
The night is gone.
You still got your little tablet on as well, haven't you? Your little amulet.
Yeah, I wear this stuff as some sort of to honor the occasion.
Because it is about honor, isn't it? It's about honor and respect.
Yeah, I did.
So just do like a quick introduction.
My name is Gunther. I'm originally from Germany, and I've been living for I think almost 20 years in the US. And then since 2010, I'm mostly in Brazil, South America. And yeah, this ayahuasca experience happened only 4 weeks ago that I started. And
Okay.
I've been every week, Saturday. This is, by the way, the place where I'm at. This is called Amigos da Ayahuasca in Santa Isabel,
Okay.
Sao Paulo. And I recommend it highly. They're very good people.
Okay.
Very good people.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Really lucky. I was really lucky that I found this, and then so I was there 1 week. Then they do it every other week, except once they adjusted their schedule to be on a different every other week, and so it happened that they offered the next session just 1 week later after my first.
Oh wow.
And then I had another place which is also very good during the carnival. They had a retreat in São José dos Campos. They're called Vale da Luz, Valley of the Light, right? In São José dos Campos. And that was also a very good place, very good people. And we had on Saturday in the morning a session, and during the day, which is really interesting. Mostly the ayahuasca stuff happens overnight. And so we had a session during the day in the morning, and that was really, really good because the sunlight and the birds and all of this was like creating a symphony. Very good.
How does an ayahuasca experience differ in the daytime to the night?
Well, during the night, it's mostly dark, right? Obviously, and you might have some light. And during the day, there is a lot of light, and that, I think, it adds to the color experience. I personally don't have visions, right? I only have like kaleidoscopic mandalas that I see, and that was enhanced during the day, because even if you close your eyes, there's a lot of light coming in. And then also the activity of the animals, like the birds, were very interesting. How they were chirping sometimes in a certain synchronicity with what was going on spiritually.
Oh wow!
So
That's
that was
crazy.
pretty cool. Yeah. At night you don't have that this much. At night you mostly have like what do you call them?
Like bats?
No, these insects that make the chirping noise.
Crickets.
What do you call them? Crickets. That's it. That's right. That's what you have at night. And so it was very good. And then on Monday, just on Monday of Carnival, we had another session that was overnight, and that was with an actual chai, they called a religious person, a religious leader from an aldea, from an Indian village in Acre, where the ayahuasca is home, right? It's the home of the ayahuasca. And so he was there and led the entire session the way they do it, which was also very interesting.
Have you had
sits there
many
with his.
different experiences now then, like different kind of ways to do it?
Yeah, so that was an overnight session. There was one big problem, was a lot of mosquitoes, which were really detracting myself from the experience. But I caught myself. But it was interesting. So this guy was like doing his rezos, like these incantations of prayers and stuff. And then he took out his guitar and then he played with the guitar. And I don't know. I mean, you've been in the ayahuasca scene, so you know the ayahuasca music. It's kind of a simple
Just like a
a chord progression on the guitar. It's actually very simple to play for anybody who can play guitar a little
yeah.
bit,
Sometimes
right?
it's literally one chord.
Right. Well, that's rare, but it's the usual stuff, like the usual progression. So it's actually pretty easy. And it sounds like a little hippie-ish, right? It's like hippie music. But the funny thing is that this was the kind of music that indigenous religious leader was playing. So it seems to be authentic. So it's not just some hippie thing that Europeans created, but it actually seems to be the indigenous way. So
Yeah,
that was
it's
cool.
nice.
So and now was today was my fifth session now
Okay.
in 4 weeks. Yeah.
Has it been in 4 weeks? Jesus, that's a lot. Have you been on diet the whole time?
Diet. Well, I like 3 days before I'm basically vegetarian. So, but like for example, even if I would go next Saturday again, I would eat some meat now today and Tuesday and so forth. So probably it's actually interesting we have these most ayahuasca places, including this one here. They are kind of conscientious. They're saying, well, don't do the maconha, don't do cannabis, and don't smoke, and don't we stay away from meat and stuff like this. And what I've heard was from a guy who actually stayed there in the Indian village. That they do this very different. The chai was saying, the priest there was saying, we need to eat to be strong. So
Yeah.
they eat meat, no problem. They eat meat and they smoke a lot of cannabis, even along with ayahuasca, and for them that's no problem. So it seems like the city people, the white hippies, they're adding their additional layers of prohibitions on top of it.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see how white people have turned it into like an almost celibatic,
Celibate?
like when you like completely abstain from everything to like to
Yeah,
respect it.
including sex and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? It's almost like we're becoming Buddhist monks.
Yeah. I guess the important thing is that the ayahuasca places that I know at this point, and it seems like the general rule is people take it very seriously as a spiritual experience, and not as the recreational drug use.
Yes, I think that's very
even
important.
though people have, yeah, so even though people have these DMT trips, they're mostly taking this not as some sort of, oh well, I'm just have a good time now and then it's over, but it's all about to know yourself and to cure the soul. That's a big theme. So we all humans, we have, the whole experience of the soul is very, very powerful. It was, today, for example, yeah, for me, it was the big theme was my sister, and
Okay.
so I feel, it's so interesting. The little babies, right? Our children, they're independent souls, right? And they visit, they come into our lives, and they grace us with their presence and their wisdom and their love. And in case of my sister, she's 3 years older than me, and so she received me as a baby, right? And she had love for me. And also, when she was born, she was the first child of my father. And I am sure, I feel like a brotherhood with my father. I'm sure that when he held her the first time, he learned to love a child. That was, in my case, my daughter is very similar. My daughter and my son, they're a similar age difference from my sister and myself. And when she was born, before she was born, I felt very unsure about whether I could love a baby. I felt like, a baby is like messy, and I don't know
Yeah.
if I would be capable. But the moment I held her, it was like life changing. And today, especially after this night, I see it as that was her inducing her love in me. And in the same way, my sister, I think, induced the love in my father. So
Wow.
that's a very powerful thing. And it just so happens that in my family, there's a lot of cracks, a lot of disruptions. From Europe in general, we've had all these wars. World War One. I mean, even before World War One, the German-French War, then World War One, then World War Two, and so many fathers died, and so many sons grew up without a father. I mean, today it's like this. It's a big problem socially, but back then it was because of these wars, and so there's a lot of disruption in my family, and um, and sadly, my sister had completely disowned the family. I mean, her parents and myself, and I'm not quite sure why, but today anyway, it was to me. I did something that's called constellation familiale, family constellation. I've done this several times, but a couple of days ago, and the idea of my sister came up. And how she's kind of lost, and how this is a sign of the disruption in the entire family, and so we come back to the healing thing. So it's our job is to heal our souls and to heal our relationships.
Yeah.
And there's a lot about this healing the souls is to accept the impact that other souls are making on us, and the love that there is, and so I felt like my sister was running away kind of from her point of origin, and if she knew that she had such a beautiful soul and she could like reunite her person with her soul, and sort of enjoy the fact that our family of origin, with all the difficulties that are there, I guess there's so much healing that can happen. And I have a very strong sense that today, that if I can reunite with my sister in some way, and we can heal these wounds, that there's a lot of other healing that can happen with all sorts of other relationships. Kind of my sister is like an archetype of other women in my life, right? Some of them might rise to the level of a consort, or a level of like wife type, right? And but first there is this friendship, this general like love, and that's sort of the archetype of that is my sister. So I think there's a lot of healing that can happen there, and so this is I guess every time I had this ayahuasca session, there was another highly emotional subject that begged for acknowledgement, and from that acknowledgement, healing. Like the first session, I can tell you, it was like a journey. It was a real journey. The first session was just me and my pain, like the primordial pain of separation and rejection, and just the loneliness, the being thrown into the world. Okay, it's a highly existentialist experience where this immense pain was essentially, I guess when we are born, we all go through an immense pain, the pain of separation from the womb. And at that moment, we are kind of claiming our existence out of this pain. It's a very deep and painful experience. And at the end of that tunnel, at the first session, there was a little bit of bliss to be seen, but I didn't. I decided that I wasn't going to go there yet. I was going to deal with this pain at this first session.
Wow.
It's a very important thing that it's the healing. We all have to heal because,
No.
and we have these childhood wounds. Okay, I'm actually doing another class. I did another course in healing your inner child, and the way that they go about there is to feel the emotions somatically in your body. Okay, and don't shy away from the pain. Basically, you sit there with the pain of your inner child, and you don't leave that child alone. You sit there and you feel it, and it's very powerful. And
Wow.
it is something we all, anybody who wants to have a decent relationship has to look at their inner childhood wounds, because if we don't heal those, we're going to perpetuating these things, and we're going to have constant fights. We're going to look for our partner to soothe us,
Yep.
and they are not capable of giving us the things that our child needs. And it's also detrimental for the sex life also, right? If you look at the archetype of your woman, and you are too much connected to her mother, to the nature of mother, where you want to go back into the womb, and you want to be held, and you want to be soothed, and that's that has its place, but it can be detrimental to the actual relationship.
Oh yeah, I mean, you should really kind of fluctuate between being like the parent, being the partner, and being the child in the relationship. It's like a little dance between those three states. It's
I
like,
think so too. Right. There is a role of all of these. And it's just, if we don't heal our inner child, we have a very hard time to be stable and to really take it seriously. And so this is a number one task of the healing that everybody kind of has to go through in order to create a good life. So this was
so,
very powerful.
so you
And then
think,
the next session, what happens in the next session was actually a miracle. It was amazing. Here, the leader of the group here, Fernando, he holds some sort of lecture at the beginning, before. He's a very wise man. I respect him very much. And I guess the important thing for the second session was that whatever he said in this lecture was not really a foreshadowing of what actually would happen in the whole group. So he didn't touch on any of the concepts that would emerge as a group experience, each one for himself, but still a synchronicity. So after the session was over, I overheard conversations, and there was a lot of talking about father, father, father. And to me, it was a super strong experience. The connecting to my paternal ancestry, my father and grandfather, that was a major thing. That was like this lost connection to my ancestry, which left me weak, right? And I felt like I was in some sort of rite of passage, where the force of my fathers was imparted on me.
wow.
And it was so deep and so amazing. And it was going together with my respect for my father, for my paternal ancestors, and then also this Our Father prayer. Because I want to say this, you have different ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is typically a very free spirituality, but some include Christianity more and others less. For example, Santo Daime. I was never at the Santo Daime, but that's basically a church, right?
Yeah,
And
it
I
is.
think they're basically Catholic, and then they do the ayahuasca. I've never participated in them. And here it's shamanic, so it's very free. But the leader is making it a point to always connect it with before we start taking. It's like there's that the spirit of Christ protect us, that the spirit of Christ guide us, that the Spirit of Christ illuminate us, and our Father prayer. So it's and that's good for me because I'm from a Christian background.
Mm-hmm.
So this was amazing how this Our Father prayer and the My Father and Your Kingdom Come, that had some echo in terms of My Kingdom Come, because we're called to be. I think men are called to create their kingdom, their domain, their realm, and it's a very important experience that we are active in creating our lives, creating our relationships, and we are responsible for them.
Mm.
And that's a super deep experience. So that
Do
was
you
amazing.
do you think that kind of attitude is lost on today's generation?
Well, I think there's a lot of problems that guys, that men have with connecting to their masculinity, right? Because of all
Mm.
this nonsense about, all this feminism and all this talk about toxic masculinity, and the incapability of, there is. I when I went through this father experience, I was looking at fathers around me, not just my own father, but for example, the fathers of the various girls that I know here, and some of them are really, really bad people. Oh my God, so bad people. Um, and I was actually, in my mind, I was making a fire. That was kind of a personal sacramental ritual for me. After the session, I was creating a fire from a little bit of ember. And while I was doing this, and while I was breaking the pieces of wood, I was thinking about this father of my girlfriend, and he was such a bad guy, and he was actually abusive and all of this, and I was like being angry with him. But there's still a level of respect I had for all of those, because I mean, all of the shit we're doing wrong is because of our own inabilities to do it any better.
I guess,
And
yeah, that's a very
so,
fair point.
yeah, and this connected to me so much with this. The Lord's Prayer was always going piece by piece in my head. And there's this thing about and forgive us our sins, right? And I think this is a major thing for men, because we are action. Men are action. We have to get shit done. And in the process, we're doing bad things. We're
Mm.
doing wrong things. We're making mistakes. We're messing up. And so there is this big need to forgive, right? To be forgiven and to confess.
Mm.
And so I think there's a lot that men today should, everybody needs to heal. And this is definitely a big theme for men today, because they have been indoctrinated so much against their own nature, and they
Mm.
have to find a healthy
But what is
approach.
a sorry?
Mm.
But what is like male nature to you? What does it entail aside from like action and everything? Like what is like the ideal man in your eyes?
Well, it's the classical role of protector and provider. It's the classical role of protector and provider. I mean, look at it. Women are biologically built completely different from men, right? Women are loved for what they are by birth and by puberty, and they have this amazing ability to bear children, a fairly small number of children during their lives, right? And men are completely different, right? Men are, in some way, there's a huge oversupply of men, and you're nothing unless you create something out of your life. So there's this the big thing that men have is they have to build themselves. They have to make their own life.
Do you think that's a good attitude to have though? That men are required to be useful, to be necessary, and that unless we are useful, that we should just be abandoned unless we're useful. I'm not trying to argue a point, but I'm just interested to see your take on it.
Well, I think it's the existential situation. Now, we I guess the right way is to love ourselves
Mm-hmm.
unconditionally, and give us a little bit of slack, or what's the right word? I mean, don't be not to be too harsh with ourselves. So maybe we're called to become, a spiritual hermit somewhere, right? In a cave and meditate the rest of our lives. But if you want to, most guys have a desire to be, to have a woman. There's a calling to have children, and if you want to have that, you have to build yourself. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, fair
There's
enough. I mean,
no
you can't really bring children into the world if you've got nothing to give to them. How can you?
exactly. You have to attract a woman, right? This is you gotta play the game.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, very unfortunately, but that's the difference between a boy child, a little child that is dependent on the unconditional love of his mother, and the man who has the blessing of his father and who goes forth and builds his kingdom, whatever it may be.
So basically, it's like you need to start building your kingdom, but you need to make peace with your inner child, and then you'll be at peace with yourself.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good way of summarizing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cute kind of message, really, isn't it? Just make peace with yourself and build your kingdom, and you'll be all right.
Hmm.
I definitely don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be all right. We'll see, but I guess, yeah, but one of the nice things about the ayahuasca experience is that everybody, especially in this session with that shaman, right, with that chai, indigenous religious leader, there was always like, oh, so alegría, and it's like, it's not all it's said a lot, like, so alegría, todo mundo bem, yeah, estamos bem. But people have deep, touching experiences. People are crying, and but there is this, with all of that, there is this immense peacefulness, that everything is good. We're on our path. We're on our way to healing. That includes feeling the pain. It includes crying the tears. But in the end, it's good. Everything is good.
Yeah, well, I think you can't really start the process of healing unless you shed a few tears, because ultimately you do need to uncover the wound to heal it again, especially if it's
Right.
festering. So, do you think ayahuasca is the only way to heal, or do you think it's like just one of the best?
Well, there is it is immense. It is so easy. That's that is that is
Easy.
an right. It's easy. I mean,
Easy?
imagine. Well, I tell you, I mean, there's a saying, right, that says, like, one session of ayahuasca equals 10 years of psychotherapy. I don't know if it's 10 years, but it's
It's a
certainly
good amount.
a it's a good amount, and it's a fast track, right? And in that sense, it's easy, right? I don't have to sit meditating for years and years and years until I reach some sort of state of bliss, or I don't even have to meditate at all. I mean, I'm actually, I used to do that in my youth, some Zen Zazen meditation and other contemplative prayers, but it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of time you put into it, and you pay back, or what you get from it is limited. So it takes a lot of discipline. With the ayahuasca, it comes for free, right? You take your little 50 milliliters of stuff, and off you go. And so there could be a doubt about it being too easy, right? That it could be, but but you can see with so many people, that, and myself included now, that it makes a huge difference in our lives, how we embrace the fullness of our lives. And so that is very that's very good. That's very good. So it's a great way. It's great. And I want to say one more thing. I'm really, really happy that I know Portuguese so well. I can, it's almost I can dream in Portuguese. I can argue in Portuguese. This is really useful for the ayahuasca experience because it is
Mm.
its home is in Brazil and a little bit in Peru and a little bit in southern Colombia, but as far as large territory, and the majority of people are Brazilians and they speak Portuguese, and so it is very the music that is being played during the ayahuasca session is very important. At least
Mm.
in the group where I've been, this is a huge thing. And it sets the tone, and there are sometimes messages. I mean, there's always messages in the text now, in the lyrics, and sometimes there is narration that happens out of the blue, which is really amazing
Mm.
experience when the guy says, "Wow, this is important. Pay attention now, because this might be, this is about your life in the future." And you go like, "Whoa!" And it's really good to be able to, I can't even imagine inviting some friend who isn't familiar with Portuguese and participate in the sessions here. So if you are a gringo, you would have, and you are not able to understand Portuguese well, then you would have to go to something that is made specific for gringos, and I don't know, I don't trust that so much.
Mm. And it's massively more expensive.
It is massively more expensive, and yeah, and this whole, I guess there is an American ayahuasca scene also, I suppose, and
Mm.
so I guess they might have a lot of English texts, and it's not always necessary. So this father experience, which everybody had in the room, that was emerging out of just hearing basically. I guess it was the language of Native Americans, both North and South America,
Mm.
um, and nobody. I mean, I couldn't understand it, but it didn't matter at that point. It didn't matter because it
Mm.
was sort of just about me, and I just felt the force of the ancestors, and that was cool. But in many other cases, it's really good to hear what is being said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. But you say you don't see visions, but from what I've gathered from your whole experience so far, it seems like you have a lot of visions. I mean, maybe you're not having like the typical go to another realm kind of visions, but visions of seeing like your sister and everything, that's all visions in itself.
Well, not seeing, right? It is for me. With cannabis, it's the same thing. My experience is mostly conceptual
Mm.
and emotional. Okay, so an inner truth, um, and there is only conceptual, schematic vision. It's something I tell myself, but I don't see. I don't see it.
Mm.
The only thing I do see with the ayahuasca, this is really nice. I'm happy about this. Is these mandalas, these very
Mm.
colorful um, light effects,
Yeah.
the sacred geometries type of thing. So that does work, but I don't see people. I don't see scenes. Some people see forest scenes and animals and people,
Mm.
and I don't. But I do feel a very strong um, what is it? An emotional and just a knowing that appears about certain things, about facts, about certain spiritual things, things that I just know, and I feel like they're so true. There's no doubt, and so that's what appears for me. A lot of conceptual uh, knowing, along with emotions. A lot of emotions.
Mm. That's good, actually. Emotions are pretty important. Well, actually, what did you do before ayahuasca? Like, what was your like kind of career through your life?
Oh, I'm I did medicine as at the university in Germany, and then I became a researcher, and I was always dealing with computers, always computer programming, and I became a fairly successful um, entrepreneur in a very highly special computer applied to medicine, pharma stuff, and
Oh wow.
so 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 that's what gives me a lot of freedom, right?
Mm.
I'm a digital nomad. So
Digital nomad. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just find it really funny. Like all of my friends are digital nomads, and I'm just like, okay, come on, guys. But yeah, no, that's cool. It sounds like you've gone through a lot. I'm actually kind of jealous. I was supposed to do a ceremony this weekend in São Paulo, but I think it's quite challenging for me to get there right now. So kind of giving that
You're
one a
in
miss.
Santos, right?
Yeah.
In Santos. Well, you know, I recommend to you you drive up to this to these. I don't know how much experience you probably have. A lot of experience. You have a lot of. You have done a lot, right, with ayahuasca.
Not as much as I'd like.
Well, how much? How many years?
Oh
How
no,
long? How
no,
often?
I've only done it like 5 times over the course, like since last year.
Oh, okay. Well, so you're not far away. The first time I came from Ubatuba up here to Santa Isabel. So
Mm.
Santa Isabel is very close to São Paulo. It's a little bit, I guess, an hour more, an hour and a half more than what you would go if you were in the city of São Paulo. But this is a very I highly recommend this place here.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and it's out in nature, and that's just really nice.
Right, and the good thing is they have this temple kind of thing inside, and there are no mosquitoes because it's a big problem. If you are outside and you fight with mosquitoes, they're very distracting. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh!
I mean, I
But
get
here
mosquitoes
here you
here.
don't have that.
But yeah, thank you though for chatting with me. It's been really nice.
Well, I think I have to wind it down now because
Yeah,
everybody's
no,
leaving and uh and they're making a lot of noise here with the car also.
yeah, no worries, man.
Um
But again,
well,
thank you.
maybe I'll see you here once.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch because it's very close, realistically, and like I do want to
That's
do
right.
ayahuasca more. But yeah,
Yeah.
take it easy, man. Have a good night, a good day.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye
You
bye.
too. God bless.
Have you made it all the way here? Thank you. You're an absolute legend. I can't describe how much that means to me. Every person that makes it here is my favorite person in the world. But there'll be another episode probably next week. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you then. Thank you. Have a good day and have a good life.